I'm coming to you. If you start the cheers and the applause, and we'll spread it around the room. Welcome to stage, Billy and Lottie, Phil! Hello. I've always loved the quote, shoot for the moon, because even if you miss, you'll be among the stars, but probably wouldn't be much consolation to the crew of Apollo 13. Because NASA are sending women to the moon for the first time. And it's interesting, because it's got me thinking about this idea we still have, that women are more emotional and that men are more rational. Because you can't be an emotional astronaut. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Apollo 11 documentaries. I mean, don't, they're so boring. It's just men not emotionally reacting to being on the moon. I mean, they're just stood completely stationary, and you can see Houston trying to get it out of them, like, the whole world's watching, Neil. What's it like out there? And he genuinely says, it looks like America, sir. It's like, no, it doesn't, Neil. Come on, there's no sky. But they did leave 96 bags of shit on the moon, which I've calculated is 8 bags of shit each per day. So that's where the emotion was going. It's also quite a weird thing to do, don't you think? Leave a big, if aliens ever do an archaeological investigation, they'll think we just left a massive pile of shit in a flag, Like, well, they certainly marked their territory. Thinking, why do we never send men and women into space together? So I Googled this, and I got an article that was written by a chimp scientist, which, by the way, is a scientist who studies chimps, not a chimp who is a scientist, as I was hoping. But they may as well have asked a chimp, because this man knew nothing about space travel. But the question posed was, could we send men and women on a mission to Mars? And he's absolutely disgusted. He says, well, absolutely not, because I work very closely with apes, and if we sent male and female apes to Mars, then they'd be so busy fornicating they'd lose sight of the mission. So, well, yes, but they're chimps. So they're probably going to lose sight of the mission anyway. Do you know what I mean? I'd say don't send chimps on a mission. Can you imagine an Apollo 13 situation with chimps trying to get them to repair the ship from Earth? It would be maddening. Like, we've worked something out. We need you to get 2 lithium hydroxide canisters. No, Bobo, that's a packet of Cheerios. Oh, God, they're all kicking off. Why isn't that shit in bags? An interesting fact about chimps, they're one of the few animals that pass the self-awareness test. So that's why scientists put a red dot on an animal's forehead. And if the animal catches sight of itself in the mirror, if it's self-aware, it will remove the red dot from its head. This is a test that I consistently failed summer of 2006 when I thought it was okay to wear a bindi. I would catch sight of myself in the mirror and go, looking good. Nothing problematic about this from a post-colonial perspective. Even the elephant passed that test, and he's from India. And he was like, I'm not a practicing Hindu. This is just very inappropriate. So now, NASA are sending women to the moon, and it's a bit like they're being advised by a sort of lazy Hollywood producer. It's like, I've got it, the moon. It's like, yeah, we've done the moon. Not with an all-female cast, we haven't. It's quite interesting, because the moon has long been seen as a symbol of intuitive female energy, which is why I think it's so funny that men have literally shat all over it. As if to say, this is what we think of your female energy. But the reason for that is that the moon allegedly controls our menstrual cycles. So the idea is that when the moon is full, that's when we ovulate. So that's when we feel most sensual and alive. And in olden times, we would have belly danced with the Earth goddess. And then as the moon wanes, we gradually devolve into Jack Nicholson from The Shining. And all of this is being controlled by a tiny sliver of moonlight. So if that's true, then definitely don't send us to the moon. Do you know what I mean? We'll be driven insane with lust. On the way there, we'll just be belly dancing out of control like hula girls on the dashboard of a car. Like, this is fantastic. And on the way back, I mean, how bad will the PMS be? The greatest threat the astronauts will face will be one another. They'll literally be axing each other's doors in like, here's Janet. Come out, I know you have the Lindor. But the thing is that I don't really buy this idea that, women are more emotional and more intuitive, because I've taken dance classes. I hated them, It's because dance teachers are bastards. They refuse to teach you how to dance. They think if they dance at you enthusiastically enough and show you enough of their teeth, that you'll just sort of catch catch it off them like it's a sort of contagious disease, you know. And all of us weird freaks that didn't just leap from the womb like this are shunned like lepers, you know. We have to get to the back of the class. There's a very, very distinct hierarchy, you know, in the dance class, because I thought that beginners dance classes were for people who have not danced before. No, they are for professional dancers who've had a dip in their confidence recently. And they need to be reminded that they're brilliant, you know. So what happens is you get, you know, this sort of descent of man. You get the pro teacher at the front, and then you get the first 4 rows of professional dancers. And then as you move back, everyone starts physically devolving, you know. It's like you can't see the teacher anymore, so we're just learning from each other, you know. I mean, you know, the teacher's probably left. I mean, by the time you get to my row, we're just like confused chimps throwing our own shit. We'll just be dancing forever in this infinity room of mirrors, like a horrific thought experiment. How many centuries before the ape creatures figure out how to Zumba, you know? What I'm trying to say to you guys is I'm thinking of becoming an astronaut. Thank you.